The second stimulus check debate turns into a bad congressional game of Twister after too many shots of Fireball. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is LALATE. Hope you're good and safe. Big news about the second stimulus check and second stimulus debate. This is afternoon's LALATE every day at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. Our 2-hour programming block that starts with a check, then goes to hazard pay, FPUC, and rent assistance. Boy, exciting news minutes ago in a morning that started with great news, and now we have really conflicting news. So when you have great news and you have really strange news, what does that add up to? A lot of hot mess express. Let's get right to it. The day started with incredible great news from the Republican voices, the mouths of the Republicans at issue in the second stimulus check and second stimulus package agreements. And now, minutes ago, very disconcerting news from Nancy Pelosi said, "I'm not coming back unless you give me a better offer." Okay, and what made this even more strange in a broadcast right now, I'm going to pre-warn you, you're going to hear a foghorn often during this broadcast, not my foghorn, off camera. What made this even more strange was Nancy Pelosi suddenly said certain deal points that Steve Mnuchin on Monday who indicated he had an agreement upon. She said, "No, I did not have an agreement upon that." Okay, let's get right to the detail. The second stimulus check is still agreed upon. There is an agreement between the Republicans and the Democrats about the second stimulus check. So that is the inexcusable, indisputable, great news. There's great news about the check. The confusing news is that the check is inside of a package, and the package has parts that are still not agreed upon. And a lot of people have been asking when are they going to agree upon and how they're going to agree upon them. First, let me dispel some incorrect news out there. One, all the members of Congress have gone and left and gone home. Completely untrue. They're still in Washington. I don't have a tracking device on them. They don't have ankle bracelets, at least not yet. They're still in D.C. There's the foghorn. Didn't like my ankle bracelet comment. Next, there's no vote until September. Untrue. Next, there is a vote in September. Also untrue. There's no vote today, and there's also no vote in September. It's simply just like this strange tale, like a passing in the sea, and you hear a foghorn like that. Fourth, they won't agree to anything until September, and they've left town and they're not coming back. Also untrue. So let me tell you where they are and what they're doing and what whose hair they're braiding. First, Nancy's not braiding Steve Mnuchin's hair, but she said minutes ago she's not sitting down to talk with him just yet. The day started with Mitch McConnell saying they will sit down and they should sit down. Yesterday and the day before, Pete Navarro, who's one of the President Trump's cabinet members, said they will and should sit down. And Chuck Schumer said yesterday that they will and should sit down. So it's sort of like a big-ass mess of people who don't even want to come into a room. The second stimulus check was agreed upon by these parties over 2 weeks ago. There's no dispute about that. They can't agree upon whether in a room or not today, but they can agree upon the check. $1,200, a $1,200 check to every individual, whether you're an adult dependent, minor dependent, whether you're single or pulling your hair out because this is driving you crazy, you're getting a second stimulus check. It's different than the first time around where adult dependents were not eligible for a second stimulus check. Those are people who appear on someone else's tax return and who are more than 18 years of age. You are getting a second stimulus check. Next, you're getting a check if you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, railroad benefits, or veterans benefits. Third, the cap of the second stimulus check remains the same cap as the first stimulus package. Next, if you are on benefits like SSDI and SSI, your child will also get a second stimulus check, and I did a lot of that detail yesterday and the day before. You need to do a non-filer for them as well if you've never filed tax returns. But the great news is that there's an agreement on the second stimulus check. The bad news, or the confusing news, is that that check is inside of a package, and that package is just causing a lot of angst. So what's going on with the package? Well, the week started with Steve Mnuchin giving us nothing but great news for 20 minutes of a monologue. He appeared on CNBC and he said, there's a compromise for many different things. First of all, they didn't say, the Democrats, this is Steve Mnuchin talking, so the Democrats said we didn't propose enough money for schools. They offered they offered 100 billion, we offered 105 billion, we made an agreement upon that. There was no agreement on PPP. This is Steve Mnuchin talking. They did not want PPP, we gave more money for PPP. We agreed upon that. And that's actually quite important because PPP, by the way, just expired a few days ago. So this is a really big reason why the second stimulus check agreement is needed right away. We agreed on direct payments, which is the second stimulus check. We agreed upon the direct payments, and they'll be done just like last time. Now, what's interesting is that the Democrats proposed that it is not taken out for child support. So that's very interesting. Foghorn doesn't like that. And the Democrats proposed that the dependents would get $1,200, not $500. It appears that the Republicans had agreed to both child support not taken out and a $1,200 dependent amount. But where did this go awry? Well, they also agreed on money for food. Steve Mnuchin said that we had not put money for food, and we offered, and they said you need to give us money for food, and we offered exactly what they wanted. That was what Steve Mnuchin said on Monday. Remember that, because in a second I'm going to tell you what Nancy Pelosi said minutes ago. She basically said that didn't happen. Oh God, here we go. But why did it go awry? Why did you not get your second stimulus check? And why can you still get your second stimulus check in August? This is what's really great news. What went awry was a big bailout of states. And there's more details about that minutes ago, and I have this right for you today. What happened was Nancy Pelosi wanted more money for states who need money to survive this pandemic. Now, Steve Mnuchin dropped a bombshell on Monday that said states were given an enormous amount of money on the first stimulus package. Did it use it on citizens, rent assistance, hazard pay? Did it use it on any of its citizens as represented, use it for their own budgets and laid off people? A lot of viewers and myself know that's absolutely true. The question is now, Steve Mnuchin is on the hot seat today, Wednesday, for not explaining, well, the Democrats want money for the states. Why don't you just ensure that the money is used the right way rather than just kill the entire nation's stimulus package? You know, you're a head of Treasury. You are a financial auditor. Your job is to ensure money goes the right way. Why can't you just ensure the money goes the right way and give a certain amount of money? No answer. So now Steve Mnuchin's under fire for this. Now, it's important for you to understand, and I've never said this to today, this is critical, is that the first stimulus package was negotiated by Nancy and Steve. And after it came out, there was a lot of uproar, as you remember, that people were spending money in a way they were not supposed to spend money, but were lawfully allowed to because Steve Mnuchin didn't outline it clearly in his delineation. It was, for example, the Los Angeles Lakers got PPP money, or Shake Shack got PPP money. All these people got a lot of money, and Steve Mnuchin said, oh, you weren't supposed to get the money. Well, they said, you didn't tell us we couldn't. It says it was too vague. So people are now saying, Steve, the second time around, why don't you just make it clear rather than killing everyone's second stimulus check? No answer. Now, what I'm going to detail for you in a second is a fascinating report that came out minutes ago, and it basically says that the bailout to states is not what's killing your second stimulus check deal or holding it up. It's one guy, and you know who that one guy is. If you watch Mornings on LALATE, which is a big blockbuster, I think 100,000 viewers already, I detailed to you, it's not Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell said, I want the second stimulus check deal done now. Mitch McConnell is urging a settlement right away. He's urging the settlement agreement to come right in the middle. He's urging exactly what Pete Navarro, the cabinet member to the president, said, settle it right now, get in the room and settle it right in the middle. Guess who doesn't want to do that? One guess, it's Mark Meadows. Mark Meadows, in not one but three reports, is trashed left and right by middle of the road, not political newspapers, but middle of the road publications that say this is a person who did not negotiate the first stimulus package. Steve Mnuchin did. Steve Mnuchin did. Mark Meadows wasn't even in the White House cabinet at that time. Steve Mnuchin negotiated the first stimulus package, and Mark Meadows is coming in with this fiscal conservativeness. I don't spend money here. We're not going to spend money there. And it's causing an uproar. Apparently, it's driving Republicans in the Senate crazy. It's not going well, apparently, with Mnuchin. The report claims that Mnuchin and Meadows can't get along, and we already know that Nancy and Chuck can't get along with Meadows. So the foghorn agrees. The president apparently is using Meadows as a mechanism that is sort of not helping the situation. It's a chasm because they do not share our values, said Nancy Pelosi today, minutes ago. So is Nancy going to get in that room and negotiate with Steve Mnuchin and lock the door on Mark Meadows, which I've been recommending for 4 days? Here is the disconcerting news. Not until they're ready to do that. It's no use sitting in a room and letting us tell us the states go bankrupt. It was a chasm because they don't share our values. So wait a second. Chuck Schumer yesterday said they're going to negotiate. Mitch McConnell said they're going to negotiate. All these people said they're going to negotiate, and suddenly, out of nowhere, right before the Biden-Harris announcement publicly in Delaware, the press conference occurs, Nancy Pelosi upstages them and says, hey, I'm not getting in that room with those pigheads anymore until you come up with more money. Now, what's interesting is she's qualifying it upon this contention that states are going to go bankrupt. Now, I'm not talking about anything but the budgeting of the states. And this is a story I haven't covered in a couple of weeks, and it's really quite critical. And Nancy Pelosi absolutely has the cards on this. The state's budgeting period to come up with their annual budget is now. It's July, it's August, it's done now. If they don't have the money, they will go bankrupt. Ironically, earlier yesterday and this morning, states came out slamming the president and Larry Kudlow and says, we can't do this executive order for FPUC. We don't have money to start throwing money into FPUC. That's a federal program. That's why it's called FPUC. It's not called SPUC or... I was going to put a U in there. Yeah, it's not called that PUC either. It's called You Pay the PUC. And so states say, we can't do this. We're going to go bankrupt because we're already spending a fortune on testing. We don't have the money for testing, for COVID-19 testing. So apparently the scarf is getting a little bit tighter in this negotiations as states say, hey, you see that cliff? We're heading over it. We have no money. Steve Mnuchin can say whatever he wants, but we're about to go bankrupt. And now you're telling us to spend money on FPUC. We have no money for testing. Steve Mnuchin can say whatever he wants to say, but ultimately, the viewers, the citizens are going to see their states go bankrupt. And Steve Mnuchin can turn his fog on as many times as he wants, and he's not going to be happy. Now, Senator Roy Blunt, a Republican out of Missouri, said he saw that there was not much movement between Mnuchin and Meadows. And he said, I hope they get to work soon, but he's worried about Meadows trying to push this off to September 30th. The concern is that Republicans in the Senate are irate with Meadows. First of all, they're there. They haven't gone. They're not double fisting the Mai Tais back in Kentucky on the or Sweet Home Alabama, watching Reese Witherspoon with a Snuggie shirtless pillow blanket. They are still in Washington D.C. In the case of the Republicans, they're watching the Biden-Harris announcement very, very carefully. And they've not left town, so they're ready to vote. They can vote if Nancy and Steve get in the room. Ironically, we started the day with the Republicans saying they're getting in the room, and we're in the middle of the day at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time with Nancy saying we're not getting in the room. This is just like a bad first date, isn't it? It's sort of like that tacky reality show Blind Date, where at the end of the episode he tells her to get in the jacuzzi with her, and she's like, no, yes, no, yes. Suddenly Mitch McConnell is the one that wants to go to third base, and the Democrats just don't even want to get to first base. It's just, Mitch McConnell is trying to seduce everyone, actually, in a quite good way, but a sort of tacky way, to get a deal done. He's like, let's get a deal done. I'm Monty Hall. After 3 months of saying he's not going to do a deal, he's trying to get a deal done. Why? Because he now has warned that Senate Republicans are up to losing their seats. He has been apparently targeted in Kentucky. If you watched morning's LALATE this morning, Kentucky Republicans are now ready to come for his throat because they are seeing back home in sweet Kentucky that the situation is very dire. People are unable to make rent, and Mitch is not getting the message. He's finally getting the message. Earth to Mars has finally made contact. Perhaps it was a side of grits and gravy that got through to him, but he now understands that the stalemate is not working. I think it's time for everyone to get back to the table and let's get the deal done, said Mitch McConnell this morning. Hallelujah. I mean, when did he become the voice of reason? He's worried that a stalemate will make this worse. Now, Mitt Romney started the day by saying, listen here, this is insane. And Mark Meadows apparently is still sort of like gleefully endorsing these executive orders, which have now become sort of the token hot mess. The Hot Mess Express is now, serving up executive orders in the dining hall on the dining car because the FPUC was gutted overnight. If you didn't watch that. FPUC is no longer $400 an hour. It's now $300 an hour. Yeah. Did you not miss that? Mr. Larry Kudlow, Mr. Calculator himself, said, states don't want to pay $400 a week on the executive order. Does that sound predictable? So he said, we're going to reduce it to $300 and we'll just pay the $300. They don't have to pay anything if they don't want to. It's that sort of buffoonery that other Republicans have had enough about it. And Mitt Romney today said, this is enough. This is enough. I proposed a plan with Marco Rubio on last Friday, for $500 a week. This insanity has to stop. So the good news is that the second stimulus package debate is far from over. It's not going to be voted in September. We're not waiting to September. They're not at home. They haven't left home. They haven't given up hope. Rather, we have a bickering going on, but it's changing by the hour. Are we in the room? Are we not in the room? Are we in the room? Are we not in the room? And ultimately, the timeline can be done very fast. Let me go over this again for you. We're sitting here on a Wednesday and you're thinking, we got to wait 3 months to get a check. No. Let me tell you how fast this is. This is what's incredibly great news. Nancy and Steve go into a room tomorrow morning, for example. They agree to something in the next 8 hours. They come out, they have an agreement. That's Thursday afternoon. Congress goes into session. It only takes 1 day for the Senate and 1 day for the House to ratify the bill. They could even do it faster than that. They're in town, and they're not in town. They're called back to town. There's an order in place between Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi to order everyone back in town. It takes 1 day for the House, 1 day for the Senate, 1 day for the Senate, 1 day for the House, and 1 day for the President to sign it. 3 days, we're done. This literally can be a 3-day turnaround. So I know you sit here and you're like, oh my God. How, do they have 2-for-1 for Advil on sale yet? Because I really need to pop it. This is just, I'm drunk and I'm not even drinking. And this is just like bad Twister at 12,000 feet. It's just, the turbulence of this is just overwhelming. I got it. But the truth of the matter is that everyone wants to do a deal. They're just jockeying for positions on how to get the deal done. And I know it's disconcerting that you're sitting there saying, where the hell is my damn check, LALATE? Why do these people have to put my check and my financial livelihood and my ability to survive at stake because they can't get a friggin' deal done? Because ultimately, that's the way they're doing their negotiation. I'm not in the room. You're not in the room. I would have done it differently. A lot of other people would have done it differently. But you're going to get a check. You're going to get a check, and I want you to keep the hope up. I don't want you to jump in the comments and say, I heard. My sister's brother's uncle's nephew told me that they heard from their sister Gardner's nephew's brother that they saw it somewhere. There's a vote on September 30th. No, stop. You're with me, I'm with you. I'm reading these comments by Nancy. I literally have Nancy on stalker mode. I'm stalking Nancy and Mitch and Stevie and all these people on stalker mode. So they say a word, I literally know, if they have a breath mint in their mouth when they're saying the word now. So I'm literally I know exactly what's happening to the moment. So I know it's just a lot to digest. It's like a bad episode of Falcon Crest, but I'm here, you're here, we're going to get through it. As always, go to the front of this channel and hit that subscribe button. There's a subscribe button with a little alert button. A few people asked me this morning on Mornings LALATE, they said, LALATE, I have hit the subscribe and the alert button, but I'm not getting alerts when a new video goes live. What I recommend you to do is make sure you set your settings to public so that when you're on this channel, you will see a little red button next to your name when you post a comment. That means that you're publicly displaying you are subscribed to this channel, and I can see you're subscribing. If you don't see that happening, if you are subscribed and you don't see that little button next to it, drop in the comments of this video and I'll send you the link on YouTube where you set your settings to public. And that might explain why some of you are subscribers, have hit the alert button on the front of this channel, that little bell, but aren't getting alerts when videos are going live. Coming up next is hazard pay, and that's going to not be in the wrong time. It will be in the right time slot, the correct time slot today. Then FPUC, and after that, rent assistance. Coming up later tonight is Evenings LALATE. As always, stay motivated, stay smiling, stay positive. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and stay at LA for more.